Hello, film world. I am the Patrick, your host of Tomorrow Comes Movies, the podcast that spoiler talks movies. And each episode, I'll be joined by a guest co host from a roster of movie fans to varying degrees. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can always join the conversation no matter what episode. And you can do it one to two ways. The first way, you can just hashtag TOCMovies wherever you're at on social media. And then the second way to do it, same thing, but you can also add us at TOCMovies since that's where we're at. That's our handle across everything on social media. Now, the announcements. The action series is going on and it's going strong. And it is going to run into June. I had a lot of things going on, a lot of podcast recordings, been working on my acting classes and some other things. So that's why there's a little bit of delay. I'm trying to work on getting a little bit more of a consistent schedule, but I thank all of you who are tuning in and your patience. They're coming. And with June, there will be a new movie series, which I'm sure I'll be announcing soon. And then I have something else in the works, something special that'll be dropping next month. And one last thing before we introduce the first time guest co host, this is an audio only podcast. All right. So this episode is another first time guest. And let me tell you, this might be what I would call superstar. This person is a big presence on the film community, and they have a probably one of my favorite and arguably one of the biggest podcasts in terms of movies. But please welcome Seth Vargas of Movie Friends.
Hello, how are you? Thank you. Did you say superstar?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'm gonna try to talk even quieter, slower, and more monotone than I normally do. If you listen to our show, Movie Friends, on double speed, it sounds like I'm talking at a normal speed for a normal human being. So I'm gonna try to really bring it down to disappoint your listeners.
But you are a superstar. I do think you are, because
Thank you.
in all seriousness, like the film community is pretty big. I've only been back for about maybe 2 years, 2.5.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of those big accounts rise and fall. And there's some, I ain't gonna lie, that I'm happy fell because I didn't like them. But yeah, yeah, you're gonna get some unfiltered here over here. But yeah, I had seen you multiple times before we became mutuals. Never once did I go, oh, that guy, you know.
Oh no. Okay. All right. I'm glad. That's good to hear because I sometimes I'll send out a tweet and it will, get a lot. It will go much further than I intended. Essentially, when I write a tweet, I'm tweeting for Cosmo. Our mutual friend Cosmo, and like four other people. That's that's about it. And sometimes it will, break containment, as they say. And I've often wondered, for the people who don't know me, like, do they see one of my viral tweets pop up and they're like, "Oh, this guy." Oh.
No, because I think you're very witty, especially with the ones like your jokes. But yeah, the one time I saw it go viral was the AI thing with that guy from TCM.
Oh, my fight, my my very polite fight with Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies, where he quadrupled down on the Wizard of Oz AI editions for the Las Vegas Sphere being good for movies. Yeah, sure, Ben. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't know who he was because I've never watched TCM in my life. So I go, that's Seth. Who's Seth talking to? So I go look, and I'm like, who's this guy? I don't know him. And then I find out that he's somewhat known, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
Seth's right. I agree with you. I saw it in theaters recently, a couple months ago, last year. The Wizard of Oz is fine without AI. It was just as magical as it was when I first saw as a kid. It doesn't need enhancements.
I agree. Hey, listen, this is why you come to Tomorrow Comes Movies podcast for hot takes like The Wizard of Oz does not need AI.
Yeah, if this is a hot take, I can't imagine what the first episode was about Casablanca. By the way, do you like Casablanca and or Citizen Kane?
I do. Yeah, I like both of them. Absolutely.
And you do like older movies, right?
I prefer older movies, I would say.
I just want to make sure, just because I can only deal with one controversial guy at a time.
Right.
Can't have two of them, you know. But when I was recording that first episode, I just told you this, but there was a part where he had said that line, and I say to myself in my head, "Gonna need to get Seth on this podcast," and I wish I had a Michelle because I don't think Michelle has ever said anything that I've been like, "Whoa, that's a little too much."
Oh, I'll let her know. She'll probably be happy to hear that.
But yeah, I'm glad that you're here. It's funny when I posted that my podcast was coming back, right? You had said, "Hey, I'm here," and I should have just went to you. But in my mind, I say to myself, I got to prove something to Seth. I got to get more than just him. I don't know why. You have no idea what's going on. You're just going about your day. And in my mind, I'm like, I got to get other people. I'm going. So I start going after other people, right? And I realized
Yeah.
that when you don't have Seth Vargas's name, people don't want to come onto your show because it's just like Hollywood. You're nobody till you make it, right? So
Right.
I'm getting like, "Eh,
Right. Now you'll be able to you send someone a message and say, "Hey, would you like to come on my show?" Recent guests include Ray Ray. And if that doesn't grab people, then you follow up with lesser known Seth Vargas.
yeah, I'm sure that people are gonna be signing up. They're like, "Oh yeah, Ray was my favorite." I mean, TikTok loves him. They thought he was correct on that take, by the way.
Very okay. All right. That's crazy.
I would say where you're located in the film community is full of good people, that are really love movies and who are not idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I don't get enjoyment out of like following and interacting with people who are angry all the time. So I feel like I've really curated a good environment for myself. And yeah, it's like, look, if you're not making me laugh or educating me somehow on film, if all you do is complain, like, well, I don't want to do that. That's not fun. But thank you for having me. Very excited to be here, despite sounding. I'm getting over a cold, so if I sound, like I'm falling asleep, I'm not. I promise.
You have a good voice. You sound like you could narrate things. But also, real quickly, I just want to backtrack. I don't fit either one of those criteria of why you follow me. I don't really educate you, and I'm not funny. So it must be a pity follow because I don't know what. Yeah, I'm like, when have you've educated me constantly on things? Like I can't think of one time that I've been like that. Well, I've never made you laugh. For that's got to be on Twitter. Absolutely.
No, that's not true at all. Patrick, you came on and did an episode of our Patreon show where where I would show Michelle, my co-host, different different trailers that were absurd. And we could not get over how funny you were. Um and very quick-witted and yeah.
Now you're about to get a good one here. I didn't know you put that out. I thought for sure you scrapped it because behind the scenes, this is I didn't tell you this, but I had not used the computer I'm using right now. It stopped working
Yeah.
and I didn't know what it was, but it was a simple thing was the power cord was just so bent it just wouldn't turn on. So when you asked me to come on, I did the dear God, it's the Patrick. I need this to come on. I just agreed to something to do with them. And I kept freezing like American Pie. And I realize now with Riverside you can
like
yeah,
American
you can hear me, so you probably could have heard me crashing out. Like, I was like, "Oh my god," I thought you couldn't hear me, so I'm going, "Oh, what the oh my god," because it's frozen. I'm like this, and I was just like, "There's no way they'll ever invite you back." I was like and I didn't think you put it out. I for sure thought you did an Army of the Dead thing where you cut me out and inserted another
Right,
guest. I didn't know it came out,
right.
and I just talked to somebody who was like there was a director that you showed us of was it Neil Breen? Was that his name?
Neil Breen, oh yeah, baby.
And somebody says, "Do you know who they are?" And I said, "I did this thing with movie friends, but I'm pretty sure it didn't come out." But yes, I am familiar. But you put it out?
Oh yeah,
It
definitely.
worked?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
that's the power of editing. Well, okay, what I will like, you said that you've never made me laugh or you don't educate me. You are one of the great, um, like, I can't believe this guy has seen so many movies in theaters guys that I follow. Like, in one day, you'll be like, now watching. And it's a movie that I've been really hoping to see in theaters. And then you'll be like, okay, now watching part two. And it's some old classic movie that's now in theaters. And then you'll be like, now watching part three. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we're here. And then like 2 days will go by and you're like, okay, I'm doing another triple feature. It's admirable.
At the movie theater, I feel like the greatest person on earth. I saw 3 movies, and I feel like I can conquer the world, right? I get out through the exit
Yep.
doors, and I say to myself, I feel like Paul Rudd in I Love You Man. I'm like, "I need to get some fucking friends." You know what I mean? Like no, I mean,
Mm,
I like watching movies, obviously, and the problem is the theatrical model is killing me because if you wanna know the truth, I love watching movies, but it became like a job, and I had this FOMO where I feel like if I don't support this movie, we're not gonna get another one of this caliber, so I'm like, doing a triathlon and I love it. But yeah, this is the what we call the introduction. This introduction is to kind of get to know you. And
sure.
what let's start off with this one I can't imagine you would know anything, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you know how we met or do you remember a specific interaction or reply to a post between us?
No, I mean, I have trouble with time, you know? I know I know when I started interacting with strangers online about movies. In fact, I just told you that story before we started recording. So, like, I know that you and I haven't been talking for more than 5 years, but I do not know exactly how we met. I probably met you the same way I meet everyone, which is that you posted about movies and I said, I like that movie.
Actually, no. Actually, this is funny. I there was a guy that I just had on my podcast, and I was so nervous that I was gonna. There's a bunch of J's. Shout out to J Love Movies, but I tell him how we met,
Hmm.
and I go, "I hope to God this is you," because there's like 5 J's I followed. But with you, this is
Mm.
before I followed you. I think was you had a different picture of you with like a microphone. I think, and we're
Yes.
saying,
Uh huh.
look at this details that I'll remember. And then you were doing like a thing about voting, and Aloha was one of them. And I had commented because I like Aloha, but I only like one part of Aloha is the love story and the Rachel McAdams part. I don't care about the 6 other movies that are in that. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I had said that to you. And then I go, why did you tell a random stranger that you like Aloha? Like in my mind, I go, what was the point of that? Because I think you had said you later on you weren't a fan of that movie, correct?
No, I did not. I did not like Aloha. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my first interaction with you, and I remember being like, oh, yeah, I would see you pop up and then start following you, but also I always thought of you as a gentleman, which I don't know if I've told you this before, but I always thank you for being a stand-up guy in the film community and just being a person overall, because you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to interact with anybody. You're a superstar, like I said. I'm a
Oh my god. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's very nice. I'm glad to hear that I did something nice too. Wow.
yeah. You didn't know about that Aloha. You're like, what the hell? Like, because I knew you wouldn't remember it because at the time we barely spoke, but I don't know why I had not seen anybody ever talk about Aloha, and I was just like, this is my moment, because
Right.
what a stupid movie, but that movie speaks to me in the romance department and the Rachel McAdams,
Sure,
and I'm
sure.
just like, if they stayed in that section, that movie probably would've been perfect, but yeah,
I can't talk about why I hate that movie so much without spoiling the ending. And even though I don't like it, I will not spoil a movie. So if anyone out there wants to watch Aloha, you can send me and Patrick a group message. I'm inviting you, please. You can start a little group with us and you can bounce your ideas off of the two of us.
I worked at a movie theater, and I tried to get the poster, and people were laughing at me, they're like, "That movie bombed," and I was like, "I want it so it speaks to me," and they're like they would never give it to me. But the first question, so you did talk
Got
about,
it.
like, why you like movies, but can you specifically talk, like, what movie or movies made you realize that you really love, spoiler alert, movies?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have kind of a boring answer, which is that I grew up with a very large family. I'm one of 8 kids, and my parents were very much not wealthy. I guess I'll say it that way. Um, you know, we uh we did not go on vacations to Disneyland. But what we did do was we watched movies. And so, you know, every birthday you got to pick, what movie you were going to watch. And um, every Easter, the present in the Easter basket that we all shared, by the way, we all shared one Easter basket, would be a movie hidden at the bottom. Or for Christmas, for everything was centered around movies. And we didn't often go to the theater because, there was a lot of us and that costs a lot of money. But we watched movies like crazy. And so there was never a time where I didn't have movies in my life. The first time, though, that I really locked in, to film, I was about 11 or 12, and we bought a DVD of 12 Angry Men. And at the time, this is sacrilegious now, but everyone learns and everyone grows, and that's okay. At the time, I did not like black and white films. In fact, I would go as far as to say until I was, 17, 16, I used to tell people I do not like films made before like 1978. Like I was that specific. There was something about Star Wars and how Star Wars changed the game for filmmaking, the pacing of it, I guess, that I was like, ugh, don't show me old stuff. Anyway, 11 or 12 years old, I put on 12 Angry Men and I was transfixed. For a month straight, I would watch it every day, sometimes 3 times in a row. I would just put it on and play it again and play it again and play it again. And like every single part of it, I was just absolutely transfixed. And so it was really 12 Angry Men that kind of jump started, okay, not just childhood. I like Little Giants and movies like that, but there's something more to film for me.
There's about to be a 13th Angry Man. I've never seen it. I own it, I bought it, but I have not seen that movie. And it's funny that you mentioned Star Wars because I'm wearing a Star Wars hat, and I absolutely love Star Wars. Like, I don't talk about it at all. It is the only thing in this world that I find pure. It's like heroin for me, except it's bad heroin.
Interesting.
And so that just made me laugh when you brought up Star Wars. But yeah, I wanna see 12 Angry Men because everyone talks ab
Oh,
yeah,
yes, you do want to see it. It's perfect. It's one of the few fully perfect films that exists, and I think it 100% stands up to the test of time, style, everything. There's nothing. There's not a single thing about that film that doesn't work.
like, when I went to film class in high school, this poor teacher was trying to show us, like, really impactful films, and people used to make fun of him. But now I look back and I go, "Man, that teacher," and sadly, I don't remember his name, but he had such an impact on me. I saw The Great Escape. I saw It's a Wonderful Life, with him, and those movies in high school, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," but I was still not mature enough to watch 12 Angry Men, and then when I come on to Twitter in 2024 and everyone's talking about these movies I've never heard of, it was intimidating, but then I was like, "I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna go," because I'm not against it, but it just wasn't one of those. I didn't go as deep. In the 2010s, I was
Yeah.
going deep. I would do Deer Hunter and I was doing Dog Day Afternoon, but I was like, "I need to go deeper." So now that I'm kind of more into it, my film taste has changed, where, like, now I kinda wanna digest more, like, iconic films that really shape things, like we were talking about, Under the
Hmm.
Influence. I finally saw that, and it makes all like a light bulb clicks, and I go, "Whoa, that
Hmm.
is what movies can be." And you might laugh when I say this, but for me, the original Star Wars still has that impact on me where I go, "That's what a movie can be in terms of, I guess, blockbuster, but like a game changer," because
Yeah.
I don't know how you are with, but I love the movies you're talking about, older films, but I also like. I know this is blasphemy for some people. I love comic book movies. I will never apologize. I read comics, but that MCU really helped me go to the movies because people would be excited. They'd be clapping at those moments, right? And now I go watch older movies in theaters, and there's people that are clapping during, like, Dazed and Confused I saw recently. Somebody started clapping at, the
Sure.
paddle thing, and I think, well, yeah, the people were clapping at the paddle scene, and I just was like, I was totally locked in to go back in time. I was like, I could totally be, you know, alive during that time, but the paddling's where I had to cut it off because, I'm an overweight guy, and I could run, by the way. I can do, like, I can get up
Mm.
right now and go do a 5K and not be phased. I can just, yeah,
Well, wow.
yeah, like, there was a joke in
I could get up right now and do a BK, Burger King.
I have these, it's weird to say this because I'm not gonna show it, but I have these gigantic calves, right? And I remember when I was a kid,
Wait, why won't you show us the calves? Why? Why must they remain hidden?
because if I have to show my whole body, this will be the shortest episode in the history of Tomorrow Comes Movies, but I have these, gigantic calves, and I remember somebody in school, like, was like, "Did you get calf implants?" And I said, Look at this body. Out of all the things you think that I would change, why do you think that my calves, like, do you think the ladies are like,
Right.
"Look at that guy's calves," like, it's incredible. No, yeah, so I run, like, I do 5, 10Ks, not as much anymore, but I can go do it right now, but as you get older, you know what I'm talking about. You start hitting that age where you can do that, can't do it for, like, 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
anyways, let's get back to movies. Now, you did mention 12
Okay.
Angry Men. Now, what are some of your other favorite movies?
Oh man. Just like in general.
There's one movie I always feel like you're gonna bring up. I don't.
Oh yeah. You know I'm going to, of course. You can name it. I mean, feel
Oh,
free.
okay. You recommended a movie to me called Magic Spot, and I
Yep.
was convinced halfway through the movie, and I told you this on Twitter, but I can tell you on the unfiltered version is I'm watching it and I go, "Okay, what the fuck is Seth talking? Is Seth messing with me? Like, I'm locked in, 100% locked in on this movie, not a problem. I was like, "This is different," you know? But I'm going,
Yeah.
"Is there something I'm not getting?" Because it was so not what I expected. And then you were like,
Hmm.
"No, man, I really love this movie," but but there was about a 45-minute mark where I was like, "Maybe I'll watch this another day," because I was just like, "This is he's gotta be messing with me."
Yeah. No, it's real. My love and appreciation for the film. So yeah, the movie's called Magic Spot, and it's a story about uh some cousins that find out that their uncle is trapped in an alternate um realm called the Beyond, and they uh they figure out a way to help him escape is basically what the movie is about. Um there's a time travel aspect to it. There's a musical aspect to it. And this is one of the films from two of my favorite filmmakers on planet Earth, Charles Roxburgh and Matt Farley. And they met in college and started making short films together and never stopped. And so now, they're almost 50 years old, and they've made, close to 20 movies between the two of them. They make movies just in their house or in their backyard with their family and friends and random people on the internet that they find who are fans of their films. I've been in one of their films now. I was a fan way before I was in one, but yeah, I mean, for me, I I can appreciate, Star Wars. I can appreciate a Marvel movie, but I'm always going to gravitate towards things that are made by hand, by people, small budget, like kind of like what can we do with what we have? That's always going to be more impressive to me. Um and yeah, it's just a different kind of filmmaking. And yeah, all of their movies are great, but Magic Spot is definitely my favorite of theirs. It's been in my letterbox top 4, I think, like since I watched it, and it's one of the only movies that never leaves that rotation.
But yeah, Magic Spot, the one thing I always take from that movie is, I hope I'm saying it right, acclimate? The word acclimate.
Acclimate. That's right.
I
Yeah.
looked it up because I go, "What is happening here?" Like, we're talking using terms that I liked it to an extent, but I think I need to rewatch it because the first experience, I was like, Seth, what a joke. What a funny guy, you know?" Because I wasn't.
And that's something that those filmmakers actually enjoy, is the idea that people will watch their movies and not be able to tell if they're serious or not.
Oh, because I love the story, but the acting, I go, what's is this like kinda like a spoof? Because I could not figure it out until then you talked about it. I once again had to ask if you were serious. You're like, "I really love that movie." Yeah, I mean, and I know you can't talk too much about it, but can you talk about the movie that you are working on with your co-host of Movie Friends? And actually, can you talk a little bit about Movie Friends beforehand, like what the podcast is about?
Sure, sure. Okay, I'll talk about the podcast first. So my friend Michelle and we've known each other since high school, I think, maybe like middle school, end of middle school, high school. And she has been podcasting for forever. Like she's been podcasting longer than almost anyone on planet Earth, you know? It's like her and Mark Maron were the two people who got in on it first. And I always wanted to do a show with her. And when I would see her throughout the years, I would always pitch her different ideas. And she would always say the same thing. She would say, "Sure, you do the work and I'll do the show with you." And so a few years ago, I saw her and I pitched her an idea for a movie podcast because at the time, her Twitter profile said, "Chances are I haven't seen the movie." And my Twitter profile said, all I want to do is talk to you about movies. And so I pitched her this idea and I said, look, a lot of film podcast space is, 2 to 4 men who think that they're very funny and think that they're very above every movie that they are covering, who just go on and on about behind the scenes facts and jokes and riffing, and there's no real production value. Like, just everything basically that I hated about movie podcasts. I was like, our show is going to be different. So we baked in the idea into our name. So the name is Movie Friends. And the idea is that, we'll talk about a film and sometimes we have very differing opinions, and we don't like we're not like, oh my God, how could you not like this movie? We listen to each other and try to understand why we don't like it or why we do like it. And so it's more of an exercise really in like civility than it is in proving we're smarter than the movie. One of the taglines we use is we're more interested in um being friends than being right. So that's kind of the pitch of the show. Initially it started out that I was showing her all movies that she had never seen before. And then as time went on, it was like, this is boring. So we've changed the format of that a little bit, but yeah. And then the movie that we're making is very much inspired by those 2 filmmakers, Matt Farley and Charlie Roxburgh. Just their whole model of, you can make a movie for very, very little money. Maybe no one will like it. Maybe nobody will see it, but you will have made a movie. And then you can make another movie and then another one, and then another one. No one is stopping you, it turns out. There's no movie police.
That is true.
So yeah, so we're making a film. Um, it's perhaps a little more ambitious than we started out. When we started writing, we followed the oh goodness, what is his name? Um, Director of Spy Kids and El
Oh,
Mariachi.
Robert Rodriguez.
Yes, we followed the Robert Rodriguez. You know, don't write a scene with a helicopter if you don't have a helicopter, right?
Mhm.
And so we started writing what we did have and what we had access to. And, we didn't write tons of scenes with people where they would have to be on location for 10 days in a row. Most people would have 1 or 2 scenes that we can film in one day and then they're gone for the rest. So so yeah, but it should be fun. We're looking to film in September. If anyone wants to fly out and be an extra, you know, you can sleep on our floor.
I need a job. No, I'm just kidding. So
Mm-hmm.
the Criterion Collection comes up to you, Seth, and they say,
Yeah.
you are in charge of the next 5 movies that we're going to add to the collection. You have final approval, no questions asked, whatever you want. What are the 5 movies you're going to add to the Criterion Collection?
All right. So I don't know if it breaks the magic of the episode, but you did graciously send me these questions ahead of time. And I'm glad that you did, because I'm the type of person where when you ask me a pointed question, suddenly I'm like, wait, I like if someone walks up to me on the street and says, "What's your favorite movie?" I would literally be like, "I don't know what a movie is." I so if my answers seem well thought out, that's because they were. Um, well, number one, we've just been talking about it. Magic Spot, hands down, I would put into the Criterion Collection so that more people would be aware of that film and also their other films. Next, I would put Mad God, directed by Phil Tippett. I don't know if you're familiar with this film. This is a mostly stop motion animation film Phil Tippett, very famous um, special effects stop motion animator. Tippett Studios has been responsible for a lot of really iconic um, moments in film history, including the monster chess scene from Star Wars, if you're familiar.
Oh wow.
So Phil Tippett worked on a film called Mad God for 20 something years. Uh, it it was the kind of thing where, you know, he would work on it by himself, work on it, work on it, work on it. And then finally it was released to see the light of day. It is incredibly mind-blowing and disturbing and intense. It's a lot. But yeah, I love that film, and when I saw it, I was like, this is an instant classic. It's so hard to know the difference between, oh, this is a movie that I just watched and I love, or an instant classic. Mad God is a film for all time for sure. Third would be a film that I champion maybe just as often as Magic Spot. It's a Canadian film called Crime Wave, directed by John Pace. This is not the Sam Raimi Crime Wave. You have to make that distinction every single time I bring it up because people hate that Crime Wave, and I watched it. It's not very good, but Crime Wave, the Canadian film, it is a wholly unique experience. Like I can't compare it to anything else, and to tell you the plot um, doesn't sound interesting, and also just misses the point. But yeah, Crime Wave, fantastic film. Also another like low budget, kind of put it together with Spit in a Dream movie. Um, and it's about writing movies. So if you're a person who's interested in filmmaking and writing movies, this is the movie for you. Uh, Fourth, I would put The Rider by Chloe Zhao. I love every film of hers, even The Eternals, which was a funny. That was a funny moment in the Marvel movies because it was at that time when everyone was like, these movies are so formulaic. They're so, oh, it's the same thing over and over. We just want something different. And then Chloe Zhao delivers on the Eternals. And everyone's like, well, we didn't mean that different. um, but yeah, I mean, I loved Hamnet. And yeah, her film, The Rider, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. If anyone hasn't seen it before, just check out all of her movies. Honestly, they're all really great. And then the final film that I would include would be what I consider to be the greatest science fiction film ever made, On the Silver Globe. Uh, this is from the director Zalewski. Um, it's basically about astronauts who go to another planet where the life cycle is like 4 to 5 times as fast as humans, and so they live through many generations of these aliens' lives, and you see religions form, you see nations form, wars and kings and deities all in like rapid succession. It's a fantastic meditation on life and religion and politics, myth. Uh, it looks incredible. Most people are familiar with his other film, Possession. Um, and much like that's one of the greatest horror films ever made, On the Silver Globe is hands down one of the best, if not the best, science fiction film ever made.
I'm gonna turn in my film card because you just said I don't know what you were talking. I've never heard of one of those movies except for Turtles, which made me laugh because I wanted to let you know that I love Eternals. I read all the comics, the original run of it. When I saw it, I thought it was one of my favorite movies of that time. I loved it. And truth be told, I'm gonna say this. I never say anything controversial. I'm gonna say this. If you didn't like the Eternals, you need to stop watching movies because that was what I wanted. I wanted something different. I wanted something,
Yeah.
and the cast was amazing. Like I I I bought it too, and I watched it recently. I didn't log it in, but I was just like, "What are people seeing?" I wanted something different. You got something different, like you said,
Yeah.
and they're complaining. And I go, "That was one of my favorite new entries of the MCU."
I think that what Marvel did correctly was try to put each new title to a different genre of film. And I think there's nothing wrong with trying different things. And yeah, like their formula is what became stale. So does everything in Eternals work? No, no, not at all. Is some of that studio meddling? Probably. Is some of that just that, it will always look a little silly when humans are doing things that work better on a comic panel? Maybe, maybe, but I thought it was fun.
I didn't know that you were a Chloe. Is it Chloe Zhao? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's my best Chloe Zhao.
Yeah, so I should watch more of her movies because I did like Hamnet. But if I had to add the Criterion Collection, it's so basic compared to you. But one movie that I really dug, and it's because the actor died, I think last year, was Gene Hackman in The Conversation. That is
Oh
a
yeah.
phenomenal movie, and it has made me super paranoid about things. That would be number one. Yeah, and I also want to play the saxophone. Two,
Right.
a Filipino film I saw this year called To Be Loved. It was actually the last film I think
Mm.
rocked my world. Was about, without spoiling, it's just about these 2 people in a relationship, and you kinda go through different timelines of this relationship, and it's beautiful because we're so used to happy endings and formula, a formula of a love story, but the most beautiful things about a relationship is the journey and the ups and downs. It's not just the highs, you get the lows because it shapes you into what
Mm.
it is. So that'd be number 2. Number 3, Hard Boiled is going in there. I think it deserves to be in there because it is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it greatest action movie, I might put it up there. 4
Wowee.
yeah, 4, I guess I'm really into Gene Hackman, but The French Connection I would like in there because that is one of the most outrageous car chases I've ever seen. Like, talk about, like,
Mhm.
he should never be able to drive again, but it's a phenomenal movie. And then 5 would be Exhibiting Forgiveness. It came out recently, and it kinda just had, like, a one release, but
Mm.
it's one of the most beautiful movies. Last time I had a good cry in a long time, and it made me think about life and about trauma, and like you said, with the Criterion Collection, the best part about that whole thing is if it's on that collection, people will watch it, and I think that's the reason why
Mhm.
I want the movies that you're talking about too, even though I don't know them, but I would totally watch them even without the label though, but people will show up. Like, The Great Escape is a good example. I think it's one of the greatest war movies, or arguably in the top 3. Everybody I talked to has said they never seen it, and I'm like, "How? It has everything you want, comedy, drama, action." Yeah,
Yep.
very good answer, Seth. Once again, Seth is known for watching something and I go, "What is that?" Because I don't know any of the movies you watched, 100%, like, I'm constantly stumped.
I'm glad to be stumping.
I I don't know, I thought I loved movies? I don't know because 'cause I'm not digging deep enough. I am now, but back in the day, I was just like,
You know what, though? Like, no one the best part about movies, one of the best parts about movies beyond just watching them for yourself, but being involved in any type of movie community, is that no one will ever finish movies. No
"Mm,
one. There are films that you have seen that Martin Scorsese has not, and there are films that Martin Scorsese has seen that you have not. The two of you, now listen, this is no disrespect to the great Martin Scorsese for his contributions to film in the films that he's made and also to film preservation. Of course not. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or flippant, but you and Martin Scorsese are on even playing field. In fact, you have a one up on him in that you have more access to more films at a younger age than he ever had. And so we're all on the same level playing field. And you said something earlier that I like and that I definitely agree with, which is about curiosity. And something Michelle and I talk about a lot in how we curate our own show is you have to follow your curiosity, and that's it. You don't watch, you don't say, well, these are the movies I'm supposed to watch. No, absolutely not. Watch what you're interested in. And, there might be parts of film that I am more familiar with than you, but, our mutual friend Paul, Scooch Slam, he's watching Indian films from the 2000s that I've never heard of. And we did India month on our show, and we thought, oh well, Paul, he's the India guy, he's the Indian movie guy, right? I think we did 4 movies that he had never seen, and we were like, how is this possible? But how it's possible is you can pick a niche and go so far into it, so, so that anyone who is like, oh, I know a lot about movies, anyone can be an expert in any one of these fields or genres. And then yeah, so yeah, it's not about loving movies or like knowing movies that other people don't know doesn't mean that you love movies more. It's just what ones did you choose to see, and then you don't stop. That's the other thing, is you never stop. Never stop watching movies.
I think movie curiosity is the best way because like the movies I'm watching now really help me therapeutically deal with things. Was seeing certain, like Paris, Texas. I remember I saw Paris, Texas in the Mood for Love back to back. I mean, talk about
Oh,
yeah, talk about
oh my god.
changing experience. But those movies really, like, everyone talks about them, but they're very much, I think, the real deal. So let me come back to movies. So I'm gonna give you a list of directors, and you're gonna tell me, in
Okay.
your honest opinion, which one is the best at creating and capturing action. And these are the choices: John Woo, Michael Bay, James Cameron, David Leitch, George Miller, and Chad Stahelski.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna uh, so I personally, I'm always gonna like something that gravitates towards not taking itself so seriously. I appreciate realism. You mentioned um A Woman Under the Influence. Doesn't get much more real than that, right? But I think especially with genre fare, it's okay to be a little silly. So my gut reaction to this question is John Woo. John Woo is willing to leave realism behind in order to show you something cool. It doesn't matter if the physics make sense. It doesn't matter if it's a little goofy or a little corny. Um, excuse me. He's gonna do it, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, that is actually the coolest thing that I've ever seen." My secondary, like, I guess it'd be like tied, would be George. Um,
Oh,
um,
Miller.
yes, George Miller. Sorry. I think that George Miller made the best modern action film in Mad Max Fury Road. But going back to Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. I don't know the last time, listeners, if you haven't seen Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior in a long time, go back and watch it, and you will be throwing up from the stunts that they pull off, knowing that there is no CGI, no computer assistance of any type. And you will wonder if you just watched a man die.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, so I'd probably say those two.
George Miller is good because I love Tom Hardy. But yeah, George Miller and John Woo would probably be the ones that I would go with. But my last question, and then this one, I'd be curious to see how this goes and see if you're like, why was somebody missing from the list? I'm gonna give you 10 action stars, and you got to rank them, one being your favorite, and so on, so on, so on. And here's the choice:
Oh man.
Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, Jackie Chan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Wesley Snipes, Jason Statham, Chow Yun Fat, Keanu Reeves, Liam Neeson, and Tom Cruise.
Okay. And so I'm just this is based on their action roles, right?
I guess it's just your preference. I guess, yeah. I guess I would, because I don't think Jason Statham has done anything that's non-action since Snatch, right? But yeah, I guess just based off your preference of what you like, I guess, as them as actors.
Okay, so I'm first is going to be Jackie Chan. Just one of the top 20 screen performers of all time. I think that that's kind of undeniable, and especially in the action genre, he's the top. It doesn't get better than him. Everyone else is pretending, as far as I'm concerned. um, then I would maybe say Schwarzenegger. I think Schwarzenegger, he has just a great charm and playfulness that comes through in a lot of his movies that I believe. Maybe it's his size that helps. Um, but yeah. Then I would say Chow Yun Fat. Then Keanu Reeves. I have to give it to Keanu Reeves for starring in the most important film of the end of the century, The Matrix. Wesley Snipes, Tom Cruise, Stallone, Willis, Statham, Neeson. I think that's everyone.
Neeson.
I don't like Jason Statham. I just don't I don't like him. I don't like his whole thing. And I don't like how he's leaned so far into his thing, you know. And then Liam Neeson, Liam Neeson is a phenomenal actor, but I, I don't buy this late career turn as an action star. Good for him, good for him, but I'm not into it.
I love the first Taken, but after I think that one and then two other movies, I was like, okay. And then finally, I'm like, enough. Go,
Yeah,
please, go back and make another Schindler's List. I know I shouldn't talk like that, but I just think that he's so much, or another Naked Gun too. He's really versatile as an actor.
yeah,
And then Statham makes me laugh because I also have similar advice for him. Make me another Snatch where you're not just an action guy. You're really talented. He's versatile. But yeah, I mean, but I show up to all his movies that you're like, okay, let's do something else. And so
yeah,
I guess the way I would rank him would be similar. Jackie Chan to me, if Bruce Lee's the GOAT, Jackie Chan to me is the best martial arts turn actor. Versatile, he can act, he can do everything like you said. He should be world renowned. We should be talking about Jackie Chan in the same breath. This is going to shock people, but I know people love Daniel Day-Lewis and Leonardo DiCaprio, I do too, but Jackie Chan should be in that same category because comedy is hard to
Sure.
do, and then doing physical comedy and doing insane stunts and hurting your body, that is the same type of caliber of an actor. So, yeah, so Jackie Chan, Chow Yun Fat, because I can't get enough of those 80s. Schwarzenegger, Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis. Oh my god, I can't believe I put Bruce Willis so far down. Keanu Reeves. I think I'm missing Stallone. I don't know if I got everybody. And then I think last would be Liam Neeson. I think I got them all. That's funny, I read the list to you, and then I don't know if I'm sure that I got them all, but if I
I
mentioned
think you didn't say Snipes.
Snipes would be at the bottom, or right before Liam Neeson. I love Wesley Snipes too. I
Hmm.
watch all his straight to DVD. I was trying to help him pay his taxes by buying them all. We are done with your introduction, which I just looked at the time and I'm like, "Oh my god, I feel so bad. I am so sorry,
Uh,
Seth, to do this to you."
all right. An hour and a half
Yeah.
in, and we're done with the intro.
Yes, and I apologize. I had only said I was gonna do 30 minutes, and yeah, I'm not good with time. But the theme for this month this theme is specific. It's action movies.
Tomorrow Comes Movie Podcast presents Woo. Now that's what I call action.
But this is like the
Sure.
explosion, car stunts, over the top, ridiculous things happening, fist fights, gunfights, you name it. And I love action movies. I don't know about yourself. I truly will watch the best all the way down to Dolph Lundgren straight to DVDs. And I think he is actually one of the best action stars, if you ask me, acting wise. I don't know if you think that, but I've seen.
Have you seen Dolph Lundgren and John Woo's outing,
Mm-mm.
Blackjack?
They did a movie together?
They did do a movie together. In it, Dolph Lundgren plays a guy who becomes incapacitated whenever he sees the color white.
I think a lot of us could feel like that right now. No, just kidding. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna add that to the list. We are reviewing Commando, which you chose from the list I gave you, but here are the movie
Yep.
facts. It was released on October 4th, 1985, directed by Mark L. Lester, written by Stephen D. Souza, who also did Die Hard, and it stars
Hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I hope I'm saying her name right. Ray Dawn Chong, Alyssa
Mhm.
Milano, and Bill Duke. And the synopsis of this film is when the daughter of a retired colonel is taken by his former subordinate, he must do whatever it takes to get her back safely. And real quickly here, if you have not seen Commando, press pause here. If you're still here after an hour and 30 minutes, probably because superstar Seth is here, please come back. He's not leaving, I swear. And then you'll hear us talk about it, or don't watch Commando. That's your business. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Of course he's ready. I'm looking at the time. Let's talk movies. Why did you choose this movie from the list I gave you?
Well, to answer that, I think I'd have to look again at the list of movies you gave me. But I can tell you that in looking at the list, actually, I have the list right here. But in looking through the list as I'm reading through it, as soon as I see Commando, I go, "Oh yeah, Commando. Oh yeah." And then I've read through the rest of it. And I mean, these are all really good movies, but Commando, it's just such a fun movie that I feel really like uh what's the word? Straddles the line between parody and just sincere, earnest action film. It really blew me away when I watched it because I was kind of like, ugh. You see the poster, it's like Arnold with like the camo paint on, and you know, I think I'm a little different from you. I don't gravitate towards action movies. That's not to say that I don't like them. I do like them. And I mean, some of the ones that you sent on this list are phenomenal films. But yeah, there's just something about Commando that really, really spoke to me. Perhaps it's opening with a deer eating out of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Alyssa Milano's hands, but yeah, love this movie.
I for sure thought you were messing with me because I looked at what you wrote and I go, Commando. Out of all the ones I was dying because I go, Seth's a really funny guy because I'm like, really? And I go, no problem. I own it. I do not own it. So I see it's $3.99 and I go, absolutely not. I'll go to the secondhand store and spend $9 and then more money to buy a bunch of things. But I do want to thank you for choosing this because I didn't realize how much I love Commando, even though it's ridiculous.
Mm.
What were some of your first impressions of Commando after it ended?
Well, I was really struck by our good friend Ray Dawn Chon. Like, I was like, okay, here we are. It's 1985. We're in the middle of the 80s. We have a female sidekick who is not written to be, exploited for her sexuality or her appearance. I mean, there is the one scene where he like opens her shirt a little bit, but for the most part, that's not what her character is all about. We have a female sidekick who then doesn't become a romantic foil for our lead. That's also incredibly advanced for this time period. She's hilarious. She's capable. It almost again, and this is where the film kind of straddles parody for me. Like almost too capable too quickly. Like she goes from being kidnapped by Matrix to just being like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever we're in this together. Come on, man. So that was really big for me while watching this. I was like, wow, we have a full three-dimensional character here in a time where women were not always written that way. And that yeah, I was really impressed by that. Other than that, I just had such a fun time with it, and beyond the when the film finished, I was left with the question of like, were they making fun of action movies the whole time? Like, is this meant to be really over the top absurd? So yeah.
I thinking of the first time I saw it was probably a long time ago, and I remember just being locked in, like, this is cool and it's fun. In 2026, the Patrick is going, I would kill to be an audience member in the 80s and not have to have multiple questions in
Mm,
my mind because like so many things came to my mind was like, did I ever share ice cream with my dad? Did we feed deer? Did we
mm,
go fishing? None.
right.
Did none of that. Well, we did get ice cream, but we didn't share. But yeah, I love the
Yeah.
action, right? It's really, but there is so much. I'm very particular in over the top ridiculousness. There's only so much I can take, and I realized that this film got compared to another one. Was I can deal with Commandos and its ridiculousness because it's a short runtime. It's pretty precise. Ray Don Chong is pretty cool as a sidekick, considering that she's just kind of like Dante from Clerks. She's not even supposed to be here. She just happens to get, you know,
Right.
but
Right.
I compared it to Fast and the Furious, the movies,
Oh, interesting.
because it's so ridiculous in those movies, right? Like they're going through one building to another in Dubai. I
Right.
go,
Right.
"Ugh, enough." But when Arnold Schwarzenegger is walking with a gigantic log and he's ripping car seats and he's picking up telephone booths. I'm not bothered by it because I'm like, this movie's already set the tone that it's ridiculous. Like, you cannot take this
Mm-hmm.
serious outside of the only one part of that movie serious is like you take somebody's daughter who's a former special forces, you know that when you start some, there's gonna be some. So I love the action,
Yeah.
but I got a lot. I can't lie. I was dying majority through this movie when he would do things because I'm like, today's audiences could not eat this up because there would be so many questions, right? Where I think that's what makes this work is because you got to let yourself go and just absorb how, like you said, this is a parody because he's a superhero. I'm convinced that in this
Yeah.
movie, I've never seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, even as a Terminator, he was not doing, I don't think, anything compared to
Right.
this.
Right.
But I dug it, and if it was 20 minutes longer, it would have not been as good. I think it's the perfect runtime.
Uh, l- Listen, I watched this movie a few nights ago, and my wife came in at some point, and she's a film lover. She's not like, an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie lover, but I paused it when she came in, and I was shocked that 30 minutes had already gone by in the movie. I would have thought 10 minutes had gone by. So then we watched it, and at one point she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna get up and take a shower now." And I was like, "Well, don't you want to finish it?" And she was like, "Well, how much is left?" And I paused it, and there was only 10, 12 minutes left, and we both were like, "Oh my god, this movie flies by." Like, I'm gonna say something hyperbolic, whatever. You can hold me to it or not. Is Commando one of the best paced films of all time? Like, it, it moves and moves, and truly, like, you forget time. And it's only 90 minutes to begin with, but this movie feels like nothing.
Yes, I just saw Bad Boys 2, and I was just complaining about how it's too long. There's too much filler, enough of the comedy. Where Commando is really lean. It's like what's that 85 15% on the ground beef. It's it's like that. So with Commando, were there any particular highlights of the movie that you like a particular action sequence or acting or the score?
Oh, well, I mean, you mentioned the score. The steel drums that pervade the score throughout the first half, very interesting choice. I don't know that it's a great choice, but it kind of helps the whole fun atmosphere of the movie. I mean, first of all, anytime we get graced with Bill Duke is a real honor and a privilege as an audience. Right off the bat, we're starting with this insane garbage truck killing. I I mean, it's crazy to be like, I love this, but I love this. And then he just steals a car by driving it through like a window wall at the car dealership, killing a guy in the process. Like, this is the opposite of keeping a low profile.
Bill Duke wreaks havoc within the first 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Like, he is on a roll that I was just like, if I saw Bill Duke, I would have probably hightailed it with those calves. Those calves would have went into maximum
Yeah.
effect because I would have been gone. Yeah, he's a great actor. The score that you mentioned, the things that I want to do in real life could be powered through that. Like, I was like, I can conquer the world. I can go out, run people over with
Right.
Cadillacs. I loved it. I thought James Horn like that's a I didn't think that this movie would have such a I guess an iconic score for me, but I was like there was not one part of that score that I wouldn't I might download it. I think that might be the thing that gets me back to the gym. I think I need, you know, you might see I might send you a photo of me holding a log. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I would say I don't know if you were a fan of them. I like the one-liners. It's insane the amount of clever like, "Aha, we get it," like one-liners, and they don't They don't just stop after like a couple. They double, they triple, quadruple down on so many of them. So that was another thing that I found highlight wise. The action's good, you know. You're right about Ray Dong Chong. Yeah, I just felt so bad for her though. Like she just wants a guy to take her out to dinner. You know, the guy that she wants. I was perplexed as the guy on the phone was like, "Why wouldn't you just?" I would definitely think I would have been like, "Let's grab dinner." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Were there any parts of this movie that you didn't like?
Mm, no. I will say towards the end, I mean it is part of how the movie's comical, but we're just mowing people down for a long time. And my wife said, "How many soldiers are there?" And but it is funny because it's like, okay, can one man shoot 200 men before 200 men shoot one man? So even though that part is a little long, it's still funny.
Yeah, it is it is ridiculous because maybe because of modern filmmaking, but I'm just like nobody can get Arnold Schwarzenegger's John Makers, huh? He really is the real deal. And also, he gets a little injury and he has to take off his shirt. Like, we need to see him buff. Like, we get it. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he takes it off in a shed, I think it was. And I'm just like, put your shirt back on. Let's get serious here. There's a lot of guys out here, and you know, I don't know that. I guess there's some ridiculous parts like him, like when he rips certain things off. I'm like, okay, but it didn't bother me that much. But it just was like, okay, it's not possible for him to do this. I mean, he can probably rip a lot of things off that I can't, but yeah, that was probably the only thing I was like after a while I'm like, okay, you don't need to rip everything. And also when it comes to a phone booth, just punch that glass and grab him and
Right.
drag him out. You don't need to sh- you don't need to shake it. The poor Sully, which I didn't like him at all.
No,
And
yeah, he sucks.
yeah, he was the absolute worst because let me tell you. I mean, you're a father, so this should definitely resonate with you. Yeah, you should never talk about somebody's kids. That's a non-starter, you know?
Right, precisely.
Like if somebody says something about my French bulldog, I mean, I'd be pretty upset about it. But like I'm sure if somebody says something about your kids, I'm pretty sure you're probably in your shed ripping off your shirt prepared to go into battle. But yeah, not too much to
Definitely.
hate about it. What was your favorite action sequence?
I think I like the mall. There's a lot going on. You also get Schwarzenegger like jumping from one platform to another. You get that phone booth. You get him like fighting a bunch of guards, and then she's kind of doing her own thing. I like that. I like that part.
I did too because when I saw the ultimatum, he jumps from one apartment to the other and he beats the guy up with the book, and I go, "That's pretty badass." When I see Schwarzenegger do it, I go, "That's a lot. That's a pretty big gap." And then he doesn't even seem phased by it, right? And then he has like a Royal
Right.
Rumble with that. There's no way there's that many guards in a mall. I'm telling you, I don't care how busy the malls were in the 80s. It was like a Royal Rumble the way he was beating them up. But it was so
Mm-hmm.
fun because you just have to let go of the realism and just be like, this is ridiculous. But
Right.
yeah, he's just gonna, and he does it, by the way, it's so believable the way the other actors of the guards make it look like when he kind of pushes them all back. There's like these guys are flailing like they have never been beat up before. And it's a cool sequence. I also liked the surplus scene when he goes to get supplies. It's so ridiculous to me that he just got a random bulldozer and he just crashes it and he's like, "Let's go shopping." You know, like
Yeah.
that made me laugh. Or the one that I really liked was the car chase with Sully because they somehow kind of like tilt his car, right? And then they crash into a light pole. And then as soon as the impact is done, there's no whiplash. He looks over, he goes, "Are you okay?" and then immediately just goes and gets Sully. But in my mind, I'm like, they weren't wearing seatbelts. They're pretty much for sure getting ejected. But only Arnold
Right.
Schwarzenegger and Ray Dong Chong can hit a light pole, and there is no airbags, no seatbelts, nothing. And I thought that was absolutely probably arguably with the mall and the other one as my favorite scenes because if this was released today, there's no way I would like this. There's no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she's not even in a seat at this point because he had ripped out that seat. So like they would be dead. They'd be dead. 100% they'd be dead.
Yeah, and let me tell you, John Matrix is a classy guy because his first instinct is to check on her. Not even worried
Mm-hmm.
about Sully, but he's just like, "Hey, are you good? Okay, I gotta handle this." Now, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the action overall, would you classify this as some of the most absurd action you've ever seen in terms of like believability?
Uh, we've already invoked the name of John Woo so much. I would say no. You could watch Face Off. Face Off tops this by a mile.
In your opinion, what was the most insane scenario that you think that John had to deal with?
Jumping out of an airplane as it's taking off. And I love that. I love that the setup of this is the bad guys think that he's in another country. He has 11 hours before that plane lands to do everything that he has to do. It's a really fun premise. And, he has to kill the dude next to him, then escape from an airplane as it's taking off. That's the most ridiculous, but it's also great.
It is. I would agree that one and the surplus are like my tide. But yeah, in the airplane scene, it always made me laugh was when he gets up and she goes, "No, no, you gotta sit down." He goes, "Well, I'm airsick," and she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then he's like an attention to detail kind of guy, right? He opens the door to go to the back through the airplane, but he leaves it open. It always made me laugh because for some odd reason, I'm like, he's supposed to be the most like, I don't know, the greatest special forces guy, the way the general was talking about him, and I'm like, "You left that door open." Like, somebody could have easily, like, walked by and be like, "Is somebody in here?" Like, and walked in, but when he jumps down to the airplane, like, he's trying to get out of the airplane, I didn't remember how he was gonna jump off, and I go, "I hope to God that he lands on something that's not gonna tear him up," and, of course, there's this water and I think this movie's set in LA. I don't remember because I flew out of LAX. I don't know if there's water, but you know what I mean? Like we keep saying, you just got to let go. I constantly would have to let go. And I was like, okay. But see, the Fast and Furious movies, if they do that, I would get extremely angry. You know, I would be like, oh, why? But in this, yeah. But I would say throughout this whole movie, there's not one scenario of his that isn't insane for a guy who just wants to go feed deer and eat ice cream with his daughter, which I didn't even
Yep.
know that I didn't know Alyssa Milano was in it. Totally had forgot, and I Googled her because I couldn't believe how young she was. I was like, "There's no way that's the same Melissa Milano from Charmed," and lo and behold, it was her. Now,
Yep.
if you had to choose one of these insane action scenarios, like let's say this happens to you, you're basically John, and you have to try one of these, and you have a small chance of success. Which one of these are you actually gonna try out?
Maybe fighting Bill Duke in a hotel. So I'm John Matrix, like I have his body, or do I have my body?
You have. I guess we would have our own. I guess we'll have the bodies we currently have. We should go like yeah, right, like our bodies.
Oh man. Uh, yeah, I guess I'll still try fighting Bill Duke. He's gonna kill me. I mean, one hand behind his back, he's gonna be able to take me down. But
The scenario I think I think I have a small chance of success is for some odd reason I'm was pretty confident that I could jump from one side of that mall into the other and be able to land. I don't know what happens from there, but I felt pretty confident that if I had to pull, like the movie The Other Guys, if I'm like aim for the bushes and just
Right.
and just try to go there, or the police one, I would have where she rocket launched the van. I feel like I could survive
Right.
possibly, but yeah, with I mean, I don't think you're in bad shape. I think you have a pretty good chance. I mean, because if people can lift cars up when they're babies, I mean, I'm pretty sure Seth Vargas, podcast superstar, can do some things.
Right. Right. Right.
Now, you mentioned Ray Dong Chong. Now, she's kind of like the one. She has some really good one-liners, and especially
Hmm.
there's one that I was like, wait, what? Did you enjoy the humor? Like, did you find it funny?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The red meat one got me so bad. I thought that was so funny for something from the
Hmm.
'80s. I was just like, yeah, that would be because she wasn't she's kind of like in this scene, right, where like they're fighting and there's never a thought of her being like, maybe I should try to get out. She just sits there and she's
Hmm.
like, let me just throw out some one-liners. The humor was good, especially with her and but then John's one-liners made me laugh because a lot of action movies do one-liners, right? But, like, they're really, Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't get enough credit for how good of an actor I think he is. I think he's,
Yeah.
you know, some of the delivery there's one delivery that made me laugh, but, yeah, the humor's not bad. Outside of those 2 characters, Ray Dong Chon's Cindy and John Matrix, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and outside of Bill Duke, was there anybody else in the movie that you were like, "Ah, their performances were pretty solid," that stood out to you?
I mean, they cast Dan Hedaya as a criminal from South America, which is just not working out too well. And then we have Vernon Wells as Bennett, who I think he possesses the right presence as an actor to be imposing, but then his body is just not up to snuff. Like he's just he looks like a normal guy with a bit of a belly on him, and we're supposed to believe that this is the one man standing between John Matrix and his daughter. I don't think so. I also really dig the knit chainmail vest that he's wearing throughout the whole movie.
Dan Hedaya, I had to look him up because I'm like, "Oh, I recognize him." And then I start looking down his, ethnicity because I go, "I don't remember seeing Dan Hedaya." I'm so glad you brought this up. I was waiting to see if you would. Yeah, that accent is not working, and I don't believe him.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but him and Vernon I think it was Vernon Wells who played Bennett. Now, listen, I'm not a world-class actor here. They're both talented. I think that they are. But a part of me was like, when I see acting that is kind of like, "What's happening here?" I always kinda blame the director because I'm like, You kinda saw this, right?" Now Vernon Wells is good up until the end where he starts doing weird things with his eyes. Like, he's really overselling it, and he's kind of like I don't know, at some point, I don't know if he was just like, "I'm just gonna get kinda crazy here." But he does these weird things with
Yeah.
his eyes and his mouth, and then he's starting to talk. I mean, they stood out. I don't know if it was the best, but it just made me laugh was Dan Hedaya's accent. There's 2 actors in here, I don't know if you spotted them. Bill Paxton makes a little cameo,
Yes. Oh
and
yeah.
then there's an actor who played Carter in Jurassic World, Lost The Lost World or no, Jurassic Park: The Lost World. He's the one in Commando where he says, "I like cutting up children. It's like slicing warm butter."
Oh, warm
But that's hi
butter.
if you
Yeah.
remember in The Lost World, he's the one who, he's the one that gets smashed by the foot of the T-Rex, and yeah. This is useless knowledge that I am geeking out about, is I was like, "Oh my god, it's so and so." So, I'm assuming you did not recognize that poor gentleman, but you recognized at least Bill Paxton.
Yeah, I did not recognize that guy, but Bill Paxton for sure. There's there's two Terminator references here. One, Bill Paxton, obviously, and then two, John Matrix saying to someone, "I'll be back."
Yeah, that made me, that made me laugh because I don't know if that was is intentional, but it was so funny because I was like, Vernon Wells Bennett is in so much trouble, and he doesn't even care. He's not phased. He's like, I hope we see each other, and I'm like, But yeah, that's a good one. You're spotting the things that I kind of was like, I'm gonna lob up and see if Seth is gonna like dunk it because I'm like, because these are things that I recognize, like Dan Hedaya. Now, in the movie, John Matrix can detect his enemies by smell, right? Do you have a special trait in your arsenal that you think you could use to detect enemies if you don't have smell, if you're not a super smeller?
I'm gonna say no.
I don't. I try to look at a trait of myself. I mean, I almost took down somebody in an airplane one time. That was something that almost happened with me. Yeah, I was.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if I told the story. I'm gonna tell it real quick because you're up too late. So I'm in this plane. It's the next. I'm in the middle. Girlfriend is on the other side, and there's a guy in the window, in the aisle. He's kind of like getting nervous and he's sweating profusely and he's like rummaging these papers and he's really panicking. So I casually look over and it's how to fly a plane. Okay. I start panicking, but I'm calm, Seth. I didn't want to alert him because he started noticing that I was trying to look at the instructions a little more deeper. And when he notices, he's kind of like, holds the paper away from me. So then I tell my girlfriend, I said, hey, I just gotta be honest with you. I'm about to tackle this guy. If he gets up, I need you to look over and confirm that you're seeing the papers because he's kind of showing them again because I'm not looking. So she looks over and she says, yeah, are those papers how to fly a plane? And he wants to get up. He's trying to get up. He's looking for a way to get up. Now, I just want to state that I'm not judging this man. I'm only judging him based on his actions because I'm terrified. And I'm like, out of all the flights I took, Salt Lake is the one. I'm coming home from Salt Lake. This is the one that I have to worry about. So then when the plane's about to land, he's trying to get up. Like is it slowly getting to his descent? And I told my girlfriend, I said, I will take any consequences of what happens next. But if he gets up, I'm getting up with him. So he never got he saw that I was gonna get ready and he kind of stopped. He throws his trash out. When the plane lands, he runs and grabs his bag and he books it, Seth. I'm talking about he took off. So I go tell TSA, I said, hey man, I don't know what's up with that guy, but he has papers on how to fly a plane and he was acting a little erratic. But yeah, that was the only time.
Whoa.
And in that situation, I just want to state this real quickly here. If you're in that situation where you think your life might be in danger, I need you to think precise and clear because you cannot tackle people. Because if you do without clear indication, you're gonna you're gonna be viral on video. But yeah, that was a scary feeling. I had never experienced that, but I had to be real
Wow.
calm. I don't know if you've ever experienced. I hope you don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever had to almost tackle someone on an airplane.
Do you think you would have been a little nervous if you had looked over and saw, like, how to fly a plane and he's, like, sweating profusely, like, fidgeting? Do you think you would have been a little concerned, or you think you would have been
Yeah, I would have just said to him, I've been like, hey, what's up with that? What are you doing with those?
Seth is more calm about it. It's just like, I'm gonna be direct where I'm over here, like, telling my ex or my girlfriend at the time, I'm like she's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, "Give me something. I'm gonna go crazy." I said, "Because I'm not going out like that." But yeah, I should have probably just
Yeah.
asked him, right? Because you imagine if I had tackled him and it turned out he was just like a pilot in training, and I go, because that's what I thought. By the way, I factor that in my. I was scared. I was like, maybe he's a pilot in training. He's nervous. He's about to take his test. You gave him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, that would maybe my special training would be to analyze a situation because I couldn't smell, but like kind of look around. Now
Right.
let's talk about the ending because we've been talking for a long time and Commando's not long, so I'm gonna try to cut this short here. Is with
Sure.
Commando, it's so fast paced, like you said. It's really actually really paced well that I mean, I couldn't imagine somebody not wanting to watch it because even if you're not the biggest action fan, I mean, it's like you said, it's flying. Now the ending is the mega showdown, right? John reaches the island and he goes ballistic trying to get his daughter back. Like, what did you think of that whole setup of that ending and how it turned out and everything?
Yeah, like I said, it's good. It gets to be a bit much when we're shooting dozens and dozens and dozens of guys over and over again. I think that you can kind of communicate that excess without going as far as they did. But the great part about Commando is that nothing goes on too long.
Yes. Yeah. The one thing that made me laugh, I don't know if you noticed this, is when they're blowing up buildings. It's 1985, I know, but there's a scene where they
Mhm.
blow up and there's 2 dolls, and you can clearly tell that they're they're dolls. And then but the explosions are cool. There's one where the people blow up, and these stunt doubles do a really good job of, like, flipping in air, like, they're really selling it. I like the ending, but I think maybe because 'cause I've been through this rodeo with so many action movies, I think sometimes it's best when the main character has some adversity, like in John Wick, right? A good example. He kills most of them with no problems. But there are times where he gets beat up, he gets stabbed, you know what I mean? Like there's something there where in the 80s, I don't think it was even I couldn't imagine being the guy that has to go into Arnold's trailer and be like, "Hey, we're gonna need you to get beat up by the guy who played Carter in Jurassic Park: The Lost World." Like, I don't think it's possible. But I don't know, would people wanna watch the hero have some adversity? I personally, um, I would prefer it. So I think that's the only issue I had with it. And then when we get to Bennett, like I said, Vernon Wells, great actor, but he starts like the rent is due with the way he's reacting. Like for a guy who wanted, by the way, he wanted John Matrix so badly, right? He kind of oversold that fight because he's not really he's struggling mightily, and then
Right.
the way he dies, I gotta be honest with you, I started dying laughing. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but it's satisfying because if you've rode through the chaos, right? You're like, "Okay, but I mean, there's no way I could ever rip something from a wall, like, what did he do? Didn't he rip, like, a pipe and just chuck it?"
Pretty much, yeah.
And so, I liked it, you liked the ending, so here we go. The final
Yeah,
question.
my wife, she's watching with me. She's having a good time. When Schwarzenegger delivers the line, "Hey, Bennett, let off some steam." She literally was laughing and kicking her feet.
It's fun to watch movies like this because that reaction, right? It's so ridiculous, and it's just probably Arnold's best one-liners ever in a movie. I mean, he didn't miss once. But yeah, that made me
Mhm.
laugh. You got also Steve. Out of 100%, if you had to rate Commando, what would you give it?
So I give this an 80, I believe.
Wow. This has happened for like the second time where I think I've been in sync with somebody. Yeah, I would give it an 80 because I had a blast. Like, I know I'm complaining about the over ridiculousness, but I romanticize those 80s movies. I think they're so much fun. Yeah, I think 80. I think at the end of the day, who cares that he can't do all these things in real life? The point is, he got his daughter, and it's isn't the weirdest ending ever. Is like the people show up, right? The general's people, and
Mhm.
he's like, "I'm out." It's like, "I'm not getting debriefed. There's dead bodies. I'll see you later." And they just take off. And I'm just like, it's a perfect 80s movie, right? Because like you couldn't do that in any other movie where you're like, "I'll see you later." But yeah,
Mhm.
80% I would give it. Now, would you consider this a definitive 80s action flick?
Definitely.
In
Oh,
the
yeah,
grand
for sure.
scheme of action flicks now, we take it out of the 80s, like, in overall, would you consider this a definitive action flick with all the decades involved?
How many are we talking top 100, top 25, top 10?
I would say let's do top 50. Yeah, that would be the best.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. It's
I
on
was gonna
there.
s I was gonna say 25, but I think you were gonna say no if I had said 25. And okay, the last 2 questions here. Is this your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
I think it might be. I was thinking about this earlier and I was looking at some of his other movies. I have a soft spot in my heart for Eraser. Nowhere near as enjoyable of a film as this, if you ask me. Um, I liked Conan. I watched Conan recently. Um, hmm. It's been a while since I've seen Junior. Yeah, I would say that this is at least top 3.
Okay, yeah. Not my favorite. I think T2 is still the definitive one for me, but this in the top 5 or 10, yeah, it's good. And the last question, do you think you would rewatch it and or buy it on physical media?
100%.
And that concludes Commando. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, please, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
If we never see you again, and I hope you will come back, I promise. I promise. I'm not even kidding. If you do come back on, I'm gonna put a timer that's Commando time. And if I go off on it or past it, we'll have to make a bet of something. But yeah,
Okay.
if people would like to follow you and where they can go find Movie Friends podcasts, please share it now.
Sure. So you can find Movie Friends everywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. And then for myself, you can find me on Letterboxd. It's just my first and last name, Seth Vargas. No spaces or underscores or anything. And then I'm on Twitter at Osethy. That's OHSETHY. And I make a lot of jokes and talk about movies.
I would say worth a follow, but we all know that if anybody's listening to this, is because I had a podcast superstar like Seth Vargas. Forever going to be known as superstar. But thank you so much. And if you haven't followed him, you should. And that about wraps it up with Seth. We really appreciate you coming by.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much, Seth, for coming on to the podcast. We hope if we're lucky enough to get a podcast superstar back on the show, you're always welcome to come on. And with that, folks, this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, wherever you listen to your podcast at, whatever app you're using, make sure you're following us so you can stay up to date when new episodes drop. And just a few that I'll name that we're on includes Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. You name it, we're on it. And if you're watching the show in the video format on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed and hit the bell notification to stay up to date when new episodes drop. And of course, you can go to youtube.com/at TOCMovies. That is the link. And anything I mention here, including what's going to come up next is social media. Look in the link description of the episode or anywhere on our social media is a link tree. It'll take you to everything. You don't even have to type it in. And speaking of social media, you can follow us at TOCMovies on every social media platform: Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, and TikTok. That is it. So I am the Patrick, your host. Until next time, stay tuned for another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies.